Hello, it's Devin Gray from EXP and the Mogul Realty Group. I'm here with JP Langlois from Teknicon. We're talking fix and flip. First off, thanks very much to everybody who viewed episode 1, I guess you could call it, in regards to the top 5 things to look for when shopping for a fix and flip. Today, we're going to talk about the nasty surprises that come up and probably are the number one reason why people avoid doing fix and flips, because they don't necessarily know what those nasty surprises are about. But first, we want to say hello to JP Langlois. JP, how are you today?
Good, thank you. How about yourself, Devin?
I'm doing really good, thanks. We did have a comment about, or question actually, about Teknicon. They really appreciated all your amazing comments in the last episode, and they wanted to know, do you just do this for yourself, or are you actually a company out for hire?
Well, first of all, thank you for all the people that had comments about the last episode. We're always happy to read your comments and answer any questions. We're very generous with our knowledge and know-how. Anybody that has a question, we're always happy to help. We do about 50-50. So 50% of our business is for ourselves, and 50% of our business is for clients. So anybody that has a need for construction, basement renovation, basement suite conversion, duplex, fourplex, whatever it is, we are a construction company.
Perfect, great. So you've got the phone number in behind JP there. So if you do have any questions, certainly reach out to JP or Teknicon. So we're now going to get to those top 5 nasty surprises. Number 5 is probably something that a lot of people would figure. I do know that it gets brought up a lot when I'm touring houses, and that's roof leaks requiring roof repairs or a possible re-roof.
Correct. So as far as roof goes, there's the evidence of what you see from the outside. What you want to be looking for aside of what's evident. So obviously, if there's damage to the shingles, that kind of stuff, that's something that's fairly easily visible from the outside. The things that you want to look for is what is not visible. So the year of the roof is one of the things that you want to be looking for. The second thing that's very important, your inspector should see that, but yourself, one of the things that you want to insist on is what type of insulation is in the roof, what kind of ventilation goes through the roof. So if the soffits are not ventilating the roof properly, what that creates is a lot of heat in the roof structure itself, melts the snow in winter, creates ice packs, and that's usually what's going to create roof leaks. So the ice itself is going to prevent the water from running off the roof, and that's going to come back in shingles and do water infiltration. So the things that you want to be looking for the roof is not what's visible, but what's invisible. The condition of it, the water drippage, that kind of stuff, if it's in good condition, the eaves trough, if that's in good condition. So the invisible stuff of the roof is what you want to be looking for.
Okay, and just a question on the roof. Is there a certain level or certain number of years left on a roof that you'd be willing to consider, or does age of the roof really come in or not? You really just say, if there's not much life left, we'll just replace it, or how do you deal with that?
Well, for the price of a roof, it's something that you shouldn't cheap on, in the way that if a roof, your inspector tells you that you have 5 years left on your roof, don't chance it, replace it right away. It's going to be a lot less costly to replace a roof than to have to redo ceilings and floors and that kind of stuff if there's some water infiltration and you have to rework on the outside, on the inside, while there's tenants inside of the house.
Okay.
So usually, typically, lifespan of a roof, depending on the quality, is going to be anywhere from 15 to 25 years. So if your inspector tells you that you have that you're at the end of life, that's usually a good sign. That means replace it right away.
Okay, great. All right, we'll move on to number 4, and that is small electrical service and aluminum wiring, the fact that it needs to be upgraded.
Yeah, and more specifically these days, City of Edmonton, as per se, as a good example, is going to want to see you upgrade your services to the new codes. They will not grandfather in any more of the old stuff that people used to be able to grandfather in. So if you're dealing with aluminum wiring, you're going to have to replace everything. When you deal with a house that doesn't have that type of stuff, you can usually get away with keeping most of the upstairs electrical. If you're dealing with aluminum wiring, that means that you're going to have to open a lot of ceilings, a lot of walls. There's going to be a lot of costs associated to that. One of the other thing you want to look for on the outside is the the electrical meter base itself. If you have one of those smaller round base on the outside, that usually is a good sign that it's an older service. You're gonna have to replace that fairly quick at the same time that you're doing your renovation, and you're gonna be looking at a bigger improvement that is if it's just the inside that you need to rewire some of your circuits in there.
Okay, and I know we're talking electrical, but I'll also just touch quickly on plumbing, and certainly with a lot of homes you look at are older than this, but
Yep.
homes that were in the 80s and 90s had a lot of poly B plumbing put in. When you see a house that has that type of plumbing, how do you look at that? What's your feeling in regards to finding a house that has that?
Well, you have two ways to look at this. You either are looking for a house where you're not going to have too much to do in it, which is 90s moving on. If you're looking at any houses, as you mentioned, that has the poly B, that kind of stuff that's going to need to be replacing, or any house that's prior to that, 70s, 60s, 50s, one of the good rule of thumb of this is you're going to have to replace the whole thing. Any house that we look at, we don't even question it. Honestly, we don't even look at the plumbing in the way, like the service plumbing itself, because we know that we're going to be replacing anything from the meter on in the house. We're going to replace everything to PEX. This way you ensure that your renovation is not going to be faulty within the next 2, 3, 4 years. Anything that we do in construction, we warranty 3 years. So obviously from the get-go, we want to make sure that we're home safe with everything that we do.
Great. All right, thank you. Number 3, faulty sewer drain line requiring a new system to the city line.
Okay, so that's one of the things that we cannot stress enough, the importance of getting your inspection done, including the sewer scope. A lot of plumber, not out of bad intentions, when they do the plumbing of your house, they're not going to necessarily scope the line or look for problem in the sewer line. Everything can look like it's good to go. Water is going to flow through it. Then you have tenants in there within the next 2 months, they're calling you and the tub doesn't drain anymore. Now you're stuck with something that can be very costly, that can be very annoying, and that can be disturbing a lot for your tenants. If you, from the get-go, from the inspection, if you know that your sewer line is going to be having to be replaced, well, it's something that's going to be done fairly easily once everything is demolished in the basement. And on the outside, they can do what they call a pull line. So basically, they pull a new sewer line right from the inside of the house to the service. If you're at the beginning of your renovation, that can be done fairly easily. You have tenants in there, and after the fact, it's a bit of a it's a different situation, and can definitely cost a lot more because you're gonna have to open floors, you're gonna have to open walls. There's a lot of inconvenience to do it after the fact. If you do it at demolition at the start of a project, it's something that can be done fairly easily. If you wait too late in the project, well, that's another story. So that's one of the things you want to make sure you get your sewer line inspected and scoped before you do a purchase or any offer on a house.
Yeah, and you always recommend getting an inspection, hiring an inspector. Not all inspectors will do a sewer scope. The inspection company that we work with at Mogul and EXP is Overview Property Inspections with Pierre, and he does offer the sewer scope. Now, one last question in regards to that, just for clarity from a Teknicon standpoint. If you find that there's not a lot of life left in the sewer and it's collapsing or it's in pretty rough shape, does that move you off of looking at that property? Or if everything else checks the box, you will just say, well, that's something that we've got to add to our budget, and you'll go ahead and get that replaced?
Yeah, well, for us, it's the way we look at it in construction, there's nothing that's basically a deal breaker aside of, well, a few points that we're going to see later on here. Sewer line is just something that can be replaced fairly easily. Cost is going to be anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000. It's something that we have in the budget. It needs to be reflected on the purchase price of the house, obviously,
Right.
but it's not something that would be a deal breaker for us.
Great. Okay. As you said, we are getting into potential deal breaker area now with number 2, basement floor slab, extensive cracks or raised sections indicating important ground movements. What's your comments on that?
So when you're looking, and in the previous discussion that we had last week, we discussed about cracks. Cracks, what we call stress cracks, are something that we can deal with fairly easily. The companies that are dealing with that professionally are going to warranty their job anywhere from 10 years to 25 years or life of the house. So these ones are the ones that we're not worried too much about. What we worry about is what we call structural cracks. So a horizontal crack that's going to span the whole length of a house with a deflection of 4 inch, for example, on the wall itself. It's going to be something that tells you that there's a major structural issue on the exterior of the house, something that's pushing on it. Same thing with cracks that are vertical cracks that translate to the floor, and you see a crack in the floor with a deflection of the floor itself of 2-3 inches. These are the ones that you want to avoid. The reason is you either have a corner of the house that's sinking, or something very major that's happening to the ground and the structure around the house. To deal with these type of cracks will involve screw piles, digging around the house. You're going to get into something that's a lot more extensive for repairs. It's rarely going to be an easy patch and fix kind of thing. So you're going to be looking at a bill that can be anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 just to repair that kind of structural damage to a house. So anything that has a crack that translates to the floor with major deflection, it can be easily verified with a laser, horizontal laser. You're going to measure the height of the floor in different points. So obviously, if you have a corner that's sinking 3 inches, that's something that you want to be staying away from.
So in terms of options, not necessarily for you or a fix and flipper, but what are the ultimate options in regards to correcting that issue? I mean, you're looking at a huge expenditure, but what other options would there be to?
Well, the positive side of that is something that's that major will allow you to negotiate a very decent price on a property that you might be looking at for a infill property. So these are usually going to be very good candidate to just tear them down, rebuild a new foundation on the new structure, and have a nice infill project.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And number 1 is the exterior extensive work to regrade and sod, also potentially new fences, a garage, or possibly concrete sidewalks.
So as we mentioned in the first episode, exterior of the house is usually the portion that is overlooked by a lot of people, investors, the inspector himself is not going to be looking at the value of the work that needs to be done outside. It's going to be looking at defects and that kind of stuff. But the value of exterior work is very oftenly overlooked. If your sidewalks need to be redone, depending on the extent of it, it's going to be can be a bill anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000, $12,000 to redo concrete sidewalks around the house. Concrete porch at the front is something also that is going to be a pretty good bill to pay for if that needs to be redone. Fences are another thing. You never know if the fence needs to be redone, you never know how that negotiation is going to be going with the neighbor, if they want to be splitting the bill with you, or you're going to have to pay it by yourself if you want a fence to make your house nicer for a resale or for tenants. So garage, same thing. Is the garage reusable, or is the garage in a shape that it's either going to have to be redone or put down and build a new one? Garage can, for a single to a double, can run anywhere from $12,000 to $24,000. depending on the quality of the garage that you want. The garage slab is another thing. Is the garage slab in a condition that's going to allow you to use it, or you're going to have to redo a garage slab in there, which is another $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 hit depending on the size. So the exterior work that's needed on a house is one of the major place of expense that people overlook before buying a property for rental or for investment.
So from the standpoint, again, of budgeting, you really just have to go into this type of fix and flip potential property with eyes wide open, knowing that, look, if my budget is, say, for a full gut flip is, say, $120,000, but most of that is going to go inside the property, but you see potentially $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 worth of good exterior work, you've got some hard decisions to make.
Correct. And that's, like I said, that's one of the things that people usually overlook because they're going to be focusing so much on the inside. And depending also on the time of year you're going to buy your property, you buy it in the winter, there's a lot of things that you don't see on the outside. You're all excited about the inside. You're all excited that you're going to be putting your project on the market in April, May, June. But when those months come and everything melts down and you see the state of your outside and you realize that you're going to have a $20,000 investment to make also on the outside that was not budgeted for, that can be something to be very, well, you need to be aware of those exterior factors that are coming in right from the get-go.
Great. Okay. Well, those are the top 5 nasty surprises that usually pop up when you are starting and working through a fix and flip. Thank you very much, JP. Just a quick recap. Number 5 is roof leaks and potential roof repair. Number 4 is small electrical service and aluminum wiring, potentially to replace. Number 3 is the faulty sewer drain. Number 2 is the concrete and potential replacement of the basement floor slab. And then number 1 is the often overlooked exterior work, such as fences, potential new garage, and fixing the outside concrete. We've got one of the best, if not the best in the city with JP and Teknicon. If anybody has any questions, JP, again, how can they get a hold of you?
Phone number behind me, 587-879-9747, or by email, info@teknicon.ca. That's TEKNICON.ca.
Great. Well, thank you again, JP. This is Devin Gray from EXP and the Mogul Realty Group. You can direct message me through Facebook, or else my email is Devin, DEVIN, @mogulrg.com. Until next time, thanks very much.
Have a good day, guys.